Okay, so we're hearing about AI literally every single day, right? Its power seems incredible. But there's this huge billion-dollar question that's just hanging over the whole industry, and it really comes down to this. What do they owe you? I mean, think about that for a second. You could live without AI, but AI wouldn't exist without you. That really hits home, doesn't it? Every single one of these big AI models was built by, well, by swallowing up just colossal amounts of human stuff. Your social media posts, your art, your writing, all of it. It was the fuel for this whole revolution. And that right there, that's the heart of the debate. So what does AI owe you? If your data, your creativity helped build systems that are now worth trillions, shouldn't you get a piece of that pie? To figure that out, let's start with the story that you've probably seen 100 times. Right? So let's dig into what I call the surface story. This is the version you get from headlines. It's usually painted as this very straightforward, black and white, two-sided battle.
So in one corner, you've got the creators. We're talking artists, authors, news publishers, you name it. They're saying, hey, you took our stuff to build your commercial products and you didn't ask. And in the other corner, you have the big tech companies. And their main argument is that what they did is totally legal. They call it fair use.
The creators' argument is pretty easy to grasp, right? They're saying, you scraped our copyrighted work to build a product you're now selling. That's theft. Simple as that. And this isn't just talk. They're absolutely taking this fight to court. The Copyright Alliance has kept a tally, and we're talking nearly 50 lawsuits filed against the big AI players. Now, the tech industry's whole defense hinges on this legal idea called fair use. It's a part of copyright law that says you can use copyrighted material if you're creating something new and transformative. Their big line is, hey, the AI is just learning kind of like a human does by reading books. And they warn that if they have to pay for all this data, it'll just kill innovation. And, this argument that paying is just too hard or that it would be bad for the country, well, you hear it from some very powerful people. For instance, former President Trump made the case that forcing companies to pay up would just give a huge, maybe even insurmountable advantage to competitors like China. So suddenly, it's not a debate about what's fair to creators anymore. It's reframed as a national security issue. And honestly, that's usually where the story stops. But it's nowhere near the whole picture. Yeah, because that simple, two-sided story, it leaves out a ton of really important stuff. Okay, so that whole stifling innovation argument, it starts to look pretty shaky when you dig a little deeper. Why? Well, first off, the European Union already has new rules about this. Second, the court cases here in the US are all over the place, with mixed results. And that claim that it's just impossible to pay for data, well, that's just not true. In fact, it's already happening. Big publishers like News Corp have already signed licensing deals with OpenAI. And we're not talking about pocket change. The reported numbers are somewhere between $25 and $50 million. So the main thing to get here is that paying for data isn't some far-off idea. It's happening right now. So look, this idea that it's a simple yes or no on compensation, it's just flat out wrong. There's a whole range of solutions being hammered out as we speak, in courtrooms and in corporate boardrooms. The real question isn't if these companies will pay, it's who gets paid, how much they get paid, and what the rules of the game are going to be. Okay, so that begs the question, right? Why do we keep getting this super oversimplified version of the story? The answer, and this is fascinating, has to do with the frame. The way a story is packaged can completely change what you take away from it. It gets at this old problem in journalism called false balance. It's when you present two sides of an argument as if they're equally valid or equally powerful. But let's be real. Is an independent artist really on the same level as a multi-trillion-dollar tech giant? Of course not. But by putting them side by side like that, it hides this massive imbalance of power. And you see this with the language they use, too. Take this one line. AI learns like a human. You hear it constantly from the tech industry. And yeah, it sounds simple. It sounds reasonable. But is it actually true? No. It's a critically weak analogy. It's actually really misleading. Think about it. A human reading a book for inspiration is just a completely different thing from a massive corporation using automated programs to ingest the entire internet to build a commercial product. It's not the same thing at all. The comparison is a clever trick designed to make a huge industrial process feel, natural, harmless even. And this gets to the real danger of these super brief, smart brevity style formats. They're built to make you feel like you get it, and fast. But that speed has a price. And the price is nuance, it's context. What you end up with is what some people call an illusion of comprehension. You feel like you understand the issue, but what you really got were just the talking points. You missed the actual story.
Okay, so we've established that the frame itself, the way the story is told, can be really misleading. That brings us to maybe the most critical question you can ask about any piece of information. Who is telling the story, and what's their motive?
I mean, just think about that for a second. Why would a news outlet use a frame that just so happens to benefit the tech industry's side of the argument? Why would they conveniently leave out those multi-million-dollar deals that are already happening?
All right, let's use the article that inspired this explainer as our case study. It comes from Axios. And sure, Axios is a media company. They report the news. That's part one.
But here's where it gets interesting. Axios also has a sister company, and that sister company is called Axios HQ. And guess what they do? They're an AI software company. And here is the final crucial piece of the puzzle. According to its own public statements, Axios HQ, the AI company, actually uses articles from Axios Media, the news company, as training data for its commercial AI products. Let that sink in. The news division's work is the raw material for the AI software business. This is what you call a significant conflict of interest, and it wasn't disclosed in the article. The messenger, the one telling you the story about the big AI data debate, is also a player in that very debate. They have a direct financial stake in the outcome. Think about it. Any new rules that make training data more expensive? That would directly impact their bottom line. So where does this leave us? What's the big takeaway for you? It means we all have to get a lot smarter and more critical about how we take in information, especially when it comes to something as complex and as important as AI. Just look at how much context changes things. When you first read the article on the surface, it might seem pretty trustworthy. Let's say it scores a 6.5 out of 10. But then, once you do a bit of critical analysis and you notice all the stuff that was left out, the score drops. And then, when you find out about the undisclosed conflict of interest, the trustworthiness score just plummets. It's the same article, but the more you know, the less you trust it. And the best part is, you can use this exact same process for anything you read. It's really just 3 steps. First, challenge the frame. Ask yourself, is this really a simple, two-sided fight, or is there more going on here? Second, question the messenger. Who is telling me this story, and what's in it for them? And third, always seek deeper context. What key facts might be missing from this nice, neat, simple version of the story? Look, we're all drowning in information, so a simple story, a fast answer, it's always going to be tempting. But as we've just seen, the simple story is almost never the full story. So the real question becomes, are you willing to do the work to find the parts of the story that are being hidden from you?